to be a good bartender, you have to have the organization, because you cannot be fast if you are not organized behind the bar. You have to be clean, because the cleaning is one of the main key of this job. So clean as you go. And when you are serving a cocktail, to maintain the high standard, you have to have high standard of cleaning as well.
Hi, this is Ankita from London Spirits Competition. Today I'm here with Lorenzo at Artesian Bar at the Langham, London, and good to have and good to meet you, Lorenzo. Yes. Thank you so much. First of all, take out your time and invite us here at your bar. It's a beautiful place. We have been. We saw it in the entrance and it looks grand and the bar looks amazing. So I think good work there. So why don't we start with you telling us about yourself, your role, how long you have been working with Artesian, how long you have been working as a senior bartender or bartender, how you started your journey here, and you can talk more about your role.
First of all, thank you to be here. My name is Lorenzo. I'm the senior bartender of the Artesian Bar at the Langham Hotel. I joined this position recently, actually, but I joined this team 1.5 years ago.
So, so what do you do at, what are your job responsibilities here? Walk us through your day, how your day looks like.
As a senior bartender, my main responsibilities are to help my managers to maintain the high quality standard that we have behind the bar. And when I'm speaking about standards that we have behind the bar, is not just about cocktail, because the cocktail, when we serve the cocktail, that one is the last step. But starting from that standard, we are speaking about cleaning, we are speaking about prepping. We have a lab downstairs where we have to prep all our cocktail, all our drinks.
Got it.
Is researching. So we have to research. When we make a new cocktail menu, we are always looking for fresh ingredients, for seasonal ingredients, and we are developing every day. We are working on new ingredients. So, as a senior bartender, my main role is to help my managers to keep these standards really high. Hello, this is Lorenzo. And this is the Artesian Bar. And yes, so what's the key to be a successful bar? So I think the main key is the organization. So where starts organization? From the shelves. How do we organize our shelves? So for example, like on my right, we have the vodka, we have the tequilas, we have the mezcal on the top, and here we have our gin. Here is my whiskey. This is the most challenging part to organize, because as you can see, we have a lot. How do we organize that? To be fastest when someone orders me a whiskey and I need to know exactly where the bottle is. So the key is to organize it by region or where they're coming from. So for example, I know that here on my right, I have the Irish whiskey. And starting from the rest of the world, so we have some Japanese whiskey, then we have the Irish, we have the Scotch, we go for bourbon, and we have the rye. So when I receive my ticket, I know exactly where I have to look for if I'm looking for a whiskey. Then all these parts are Scotch and are divided by region. And on the top shelf, we have the cognac. So here behind me, we have these little bottles that are the most frequently liqueurs that we use to make our classic cocktail. To make it more handy, for example, the green chartreuse that we use in a lot of classic cocktails, or the crème de cassis. So in this part we have our other modifiers that we use in our drinks. And these sides we have our rum that are divided by region as well to make it easier when we are looking for a bottle. Another key of a successful bar are the glasses. We keep the majority of our glasses in the freezer. You can find on our shelf some glasses as a backup, but we keep it in the freezer to maintain high quality standards when we serve our cocktail at the right temperature.
So when you talk about you're responsible for ingredients, you're responsible for research, how does that work? Like, is there a timeline that you decide that there's a time for you to put something up new in the menu? How do you go about the research? How often do you operate your labs? What ingredients you want to use? So how do you go about, what's the lab functionality looks like?
Yeah, so we change the menu usually once a year, but I think the research never stops because each ingredient that we are using, like there is a big process behind. It's not just that you take one ingredient and after 1 week you are done with that. We are lucky enough to have a lab downstairs that we can use where we can develop new ingredients. We can sometimes you find new ways to treat that ingredient. So I think the research never stops. We are working every day on it. So, and then we have our lab that I always like to say is where the magic happens, because here behind the bar is the show. So it's where we make our cocktails and where we introduce our cocktails to our guests. Behind all our cocktails, there are many hours of work in the lab. So what you can see that I made in 1 minute, in 2 minutes, probably is 2 days of work in the lab, because behind one good cocktail, there are distillation, there are infusions, and there is research that we made. Our lab is really helpful because we can spend time there to help our creativity. So to try new things, to try experiment, because behind every ingredient there is a world to discover.
So tell us more about your team. How many of you are working in the bar? How the functionality or how the hierarchy works? Like who do you give instructions to help you out in this? So tell us more about your team that is here with you.
So yes, so our team is made by our bar manager, Lorenzo, our assistant bar manager, Nikos, and our head bartender, Julia.
Okay.
Then we have the supervisor and Chris, and then there is me with 8 other bartenders behind. So I think to have like a winning team is really hard because the team is made by person and by different personalities. And I think like each bar needs different personality. And I think we are really good on this. So when we're speaking about a team, we are speaking about different personalities.
Correct.
And I think this is a key part of our team because each one of our bartender has different skills. So I think you need the right balance between the people person, the people that like to joke, they like to laugh and to have fun behind the bar. And I like to call them the soldiers, the people that they like to make the job done. Like they go there and they smash it.
The front people that takes the
bullets.
Yes,
and I think in each team, in each good team, you need the right balance.
Correct.
We change our menu once a year, but from the moment that we launch our new menu, is the moment that we start to work in a new menu. So we try, we start to experiment new ingredients. So our lab is in constantly evolution. So during the year, of course, we use our lab to make, let's say, the 80% of the job that we do behind the bar, because behind each cocktail there are many hours of work in the lab, and of course we have to work 3-4 times a week to reproduce this cocktail that we're gonna present behind the bar. But we use the bar as well to try new things, experiment, because when you finish to work on a menu, you start to work in the next one immediately. So researching behind new ingredients, and sometimes it's a job that requires many months.
So when you talk about winning term, I like that word. When you talk about winning team, so how this team works together? How often do you interact? How often do you meet? when do you take time, and what sort of decisions that you take on a routine basis, like that makes you well communicated, well connected, you make sure your bar is running smoothly? So what types of meeting do you guys do to make this team as a winning team?
Yeah, I think the communication is really important. Like daily basis, we do briefing before to start the shift, and we do debriefing at the end of the shift.
Okay.
Because it's really important when we spend a lot of time together. I always say that my team is my second family, and can happen that during a shift you can have some problems.
Correct.
But it's really important to have a good communication that at the end of the day, during the debrief, you solve this problem because we are working together every day. We are working hard, and each one of us has the same goal. And the only way to reach that goal is to communicate
and to work together. When you do briefing and when you do debriefing, what sort of checklist do you tick mark every day? Oh, bar is set, mopping is done, cleaning is done. What sort of checklist do you keep in mind when you talk in a team in the morning hours?
Cleaning is really important, but usually when we do our debrief, we speak more about the service. What was going in a good way, what was working and what was not.
Great.
Because what was working is good, but it's more important what didn't work, because we have to work on it. We need to reach the excellence every time that we work in this bar.
Any real example that you would like to share when it says that the debriefing has actually solved a problem? You shared it with the team and there was a solution. Any real example do you have?
Yes, sometimes can happen that there's a problem with the table, that the service was not in the standard that we should do, and we speak about that, why that happened, and we work to make sure that will not happen again.
Got it.
Then we use our main spirit in the speed rate to be faster during the service. But how we organize the shelves? So, for example, like we have a super high demand of whiskey, and the whiskey are just behind the bartender while he's working. Then we have our selection of gin, really important here in England because the martini is one of the most popular cocktail at the moment.
I see there is a hierarchy, right? There are the managers, there are the people who work with you. So sometimes or anytime does that happen that somebody who is at a junior level goes to a table and there's a problem, but they are not the people who to make a right decision. So what happens there? Do you train them enough so that they know what sort of decisions to be done at the same time, or do they take some time, come back to the manager and speak it out and then give solution to the table? What sort of training do you make sure you give for them to become more independent on the floor?
Yeah, so of course the training are really important, and each person that works behind this bar is trained to do that. But there are some situations that sometimes it's better to step back and to call the manager. Then this, of course, like depends on the situation. But each bartender that works here, when you start to work at Artesian bar, everyone starts from the same level.
Nice.
And the same level, like at the beginning, there is a moment. The first weeks are the weeks where you observe, where you learn how we work. So of course, like we will never ask to someone new to go to the table and to answer a question that he doesn't know the answer. And after this phase, he will start to the person that starts to work with us. We have a program where we explain exactly all our step of service to maintain our standards. And once that the person that is in case started pass our test, it will start to work like more
independently.
It's going to be
So you train them, and there's a small test that makes sure that they understood what the trainings are being given, and once they clear the test, they are then free to move around independently at the bar.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Okay. So can you just quickly tell us what sort of trainings does it involve? Like, do you give them bar training, menu training? What are the trainings that gets involved?
So yes, at the beginning, as I said, there is a phase where you just
observe.
You just observe what's going on.
Okay.
Of course, is really important. One of the first things, you have to know the menu, because the menu is really important. I mean, we work with drinks and food, and when you go to the table, when you are selling something, you need to know what you are selling, because our job is made by ingredients that you need to be really careful. You need to know what you're serving, because we are working with allergens. So you need to know exactly what you're serving. And so the first phase, you need to know the menu. You need to know our step of service. Hi, this is Lorenzo. And I think the key to become a good bartender is passion, is research, and always ask yourself why. Because to be a good bartender, you need to have the curiosity to discover and try new things.